Today, we're going to be covering the basics of simple, compound, and complex sentences. In order to be able to write effectively, you need to understand the fundamentals of each of these and how they work. So let's begin with the easiest, and that is the simple sentence. A simple sentence consists of two things, and that is the subject and the predicate. Let's use this sentence as an example. I took the dog for a walk in the park. As you can see, our subject is I, and our predicate is took my dog for a walk in the park. Now, when you put these two things together, that is the subject and the predicate, you're going to create what's called an independent clause. An independent clause is a phrase that needs no other context in order for it to make sense. Now let's move on to compound sentences. A compound sentence is two or more simple sentences connected by a conjunction. Let's use this sentence as our example. I took the dog for a walk in the park, and I brought the Frisbee with me. Here you can clearly see two separate simple sentences. The first is, I took my dog for a walk in the park, and I brought the Frisbee with me. These are two simple sentences that are combined using a conjunction. They are also both independent clauses, which means they can both make sense on their own. I took my dog for a walk in the park can stand alone. Also, I brought the Frisbee with me can also stand on its own and still make sense. Taking those two and adding a conjunction gives you your compound sentence. Now let's move on to complex sentences. Now, a complex sentence is when you take an independent clause and you combine it with a dependent clause. Here's the example we'll work with. When we go to the park with the dog, we cannot forget the Frisbee. So from earlier, we know that an independent clause can stand on its own and still make sense. Now, a dependent clause is a phrase that needs prior information in order for it to make sense. Our independent clause in this sentence is we cannot forget the Frisbee. Our dependent clause in this sentence is when we take the dog to the park. Now, if you say this to somebody, when we take the dog to the park, someone's going to want more information. When we take the dog to the park, what? So, in order for it to make sense, you need more information, thus making it a dependent clause. So there are the basic rules of simple, compound, and complex sentences. Now it's time to practice. In the description below, there is a link to a Google form where you'll answer questions and identify simple, compound, and complex sentences. So head to that link below.